Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much. What if I told you that the applause you're chasing could one day become silence and take your confidence with it? Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you work, you're still waiting for someone to notice, to validate, to approve? Here's the truth. The moment you stop needing their recognition is the moment you start living in your power. There's a subtle trap that so many of us fall into, a trap called validation. We crave it. We want people to notice our progress, to admire our growth, to applaud our decisions. And for a while, that applause can feel like fuel. But here's the danger. The moment your confidence depends on outside approval, you've unknowingly handed over your power. Because what happens when the clapping stops? What happens when the people who cheered for you yesterday fall silent, get distracted, or turn away? If your self-worth is built on their recognition, you'll find yourself lost the moment it's gone. That's why one of the most powerful things you can ever do is focus on yourself. Not in a selfish or arrogant way, but in a grounded, intentional, purposeful way. The kind of focus that makes you better, more centered, more disciplined every single day. When you make yourself the priority, your entire energy shifts. You stop comparing. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop explaining yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. All that wasted energy, you redirect it inward into real growth, real peace, and real progress. It's easy to get caught up in what everyone else thinks. Maybe you have big dreams, but you're hesitating, afraid of how others will respond. Maybe you've started making progress, and suddenly someone always has something negative to say. But here's the thing, opinions aren't currency. They don't pay your bills. They don't heal your heart, and they certainly don't define your value. Once you start putting your growth ahead of their validation, you become unstoppable. You stop wondering who's watching. You stop announcing every move just to prove you're doing something. You stop living for approval from people who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared. Instead, you start developing discipline. You get up every day and do the work, not to be seen, but because you know it's necessary. And when you move like that, in silence, something powerful happens. Your results begin to speak for themselves. And when the results come, the same people who doubted you, they'll see. The ones who dismissed you, they'll see too. But by then, you won't need their recognition because you never did it for them. You did it for you. And the peace that comes with that, when you truly focus on yourself, is the kind of peace no one can take away. You're no longer shaken by judgment. You don't need to explain your choices. You don't waste energy proving yourself to anyone. You're grounded. You're focused. You're becoming exactly who you were meant to be. And that's where we'll pick up in the next part, where we talk about how this kind of self-focus unlocks emotional strength that can't be shaken. Because once you stop living for their applause and start living for your purpose, something powerful begins to shift. You see, your value doesn't drop just because someone else fails to recognize it. Read that again. Their lack of acknowledgement doesn't reflect your worth. It reflects their vision. So ask yourself honestly, are you living for them or are you living for you? Are you waking up every day making choices that truly reflect your desires, your passions, your purpose? Or are you twisting and shrinking yourself to fit into a mold someone else created for you? Because at the end of the day, the person you're stuck with, the one staring back at you in the mirror, is you. And you owe it to yourself to be proud of who that person is becoming. Not proud because someone approved, but proud because you stayed true to who you are. It's time to stop asking for permission to be great. Time to stop waiting for the world to see your potential before you act on it. Stop expecting applause before you believe in yourself. If you want to grow, grow. If you want to change your life, change it. Don't waste another day waiting for validation from people who aren't even qualified to judge your journey. You are enough. And the only approval you'll ever truly need is your own. Now, here's where it gets interesting, silence. Silence is one of the most underestimated superpowers in the world today. In a time where everyone's shouting to be heard, posting every opinion, announcing every move, silence is rare, and that makes it powerful. We live in an age where people believe that if it's not shared, it's not real. But real strength doesn't come from telling everyone your plans. It comes from acting on them. It comes from knowing when to speak. And more importantly, when to say nothing at all. Silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's not insecurity, it's discipline. Because silence allows you to observe, to reflect, to move with clarity. It teaches you that not every thought needs to be posted, not every win needs to be broadcast, and not every insult deserves a response. People who constantly seek noise, arguments, attention, drama, are usually the ones who lack direction. But those who are focused, they're not explaining themselves to the crowd. They're working in silence, building brick by brick, letting their results make the noise. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't have to respond to every critic, every comment, or every misunderstanding. The people who genuinely matter, who see you, will recognize your growth without you saying a word. And those who don't, they were never listening anyway. Think about it. The most successful people in the world aren't spending their time arguing online or proving themselves to strangers. They're silent, focused, unbothered, because they understand true success is built in silence, in those quiet, unseen hours when no one is watching. And that's exactly where we're going next. How to master your emotions and own your response, no matter what chaos surrounds you. Ready? Let's keep going. So while the world is busy watching noise, the real ones, the focused ones, are quietly growing when no one's clapping. You see, real progress doesn't happen under spotlights. It happens in silence, in the hours when nobody's watching, in the moments when no one knows what you're building. But for some of you, that silence feels uncomfortable. You're letting the absence of applause slow you down. You're craving recognition. You want someone to notice your effort, to acknowledge the late nights, the sacrifices. And when they don't, doubt starts to creep in. But here's the truth you need to remember. Their approval is not a requirement for your breakthrough. You don't need an audience to make progress. You don't need to broadcast your every move to prove you're making one. Because the truth is, when the time is right, the results will speak louder than any announcement ever could. Some things in life are sacred. Your vision, your growth, your next move. Not everyone deserves front row access to your journey. Not everyone is qualified to hear your dreams or speak into your plans. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is keep it to yourself. Why? Because the moment you start sharing everything, you open the door to voices that were never meant to influence your path. You invite doubt disguised as concern. You attract distractions disguised as advice. And before you've even begun, the weight of other people's opinions starts pulling you off course. Have you ever noticed? The loudest people in a room, the ones always talking about what they're going to do, rarely follow through. That's because they waste their energy trying to convince others of their potential instead of putting in the quiet, consistent work to live it out. But when you choose to move in silence, you flip the script. You stop needing applause. You stop explaining. You stop performing. You just work. You build. You evolve. And when you stay consistent in that quiet grind, eventually the results become undeniable. The kind of success that doesn't require explanation. The kind of transformation that speaks for itself. When you master the art of silence, something powerful happens. You become unpredictable. People can't interfere with what they don't see. They can't block what they don't know is coming. That makes you dangerous in the best way possible. Because while they're talking, you're building. While they're distracted by noise, you're moving in peace. Silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's discipline. It's strategic power. Because success isn't created by noise, it's built by action. You don't need to fight every battle. You don't owe every critic a response. You don't have to announce every move. You just have to trust yourself and keep going. And when you do, what's meant for you will find its way. No audience required. Now, let's go even deeper, because once you stop seeking validation, you gain something even more valuable: emotional freedom. Let's talk about that next. As we just explored, moving in silence gives you power, but that power can quickly be drained if you let your focus wander to what everyone else is doing. And that's where one of the biggest traps of all comes in: comparison. It sneaks in quietly when you're least expecting it. Maybe you were feeling proud of yourself, confident in the progress you've made. You were in your lane, doing your best. Then suddenly you scroll through your feed or overhear a conversation, and there it is. Someone is ahead. Someone is achieving more. Someone is doing it faster. And just like that, your confidence begins to crack. You start questioning everything. Am I behind? Should I be doing more? Why isn't that happening for me? But let me tell you this: comparison is a thief. It doesn't just take your joy, it steals your energy, your motivation, and most dangerously, your focus. Here's the truth we often forget: no two people have the same journey. You weren't meant to follow their timeline. You weren't designed to live their story. You weren't created for their breakthrough. And yet, so many waste time measuring themselves against someone else's progress. They look at someone else's success and start feeling like they're falling behind, like they're not doing enough or being enough. But the problem isn't that you're behind. The problem is that you're looking in the wrong direction. When your eyes are constantly on someone else's path, you lose sight of your own. You stop seeing how far you've actually come because you're too busy watching someone else's highlight reel. And let's be honest, what you're seeing is never the full picture, especially online. You're not seeing the sleepless nights. You're not seeing the doubts, the failures, the breakdowns behind closed doors. You're seeing the polished result, the best angles, the big wins, the final product. And the danger? When you compare your behind the scenes to their highlight reel, you will always feel like you're not enough. That's why you have to discipline your mind to stay in your lane, to stay rooted in your own process. It doesn't matter how fast someone else is moving. It doesn't matter how much they've achieved or how successful they seem. What matters is you, your growth, your improvement, your resilience. What matters is that today, you're a step closer than you were yesterday. Because at the end of the day, the only person you should ever be competing with is yourself. And speaking of internal battles, let's talk about the ones that live in your head. The doubts, the negative voices, and how to take back control. We'll dive into that next. As we explored earlier, comparison steals your peace, but what's even more dangerous is how it slows your progress without you even realizing it. Some of you are holding yourselves back, and not because you lack talent or potential, but because your attention is in the wrong place. You're constantly looking to the side, checking to see who's ahead, who's falling behind, who's watching. But here's the truth: none of that actually matters. What someone else is doing has absolutely nothing to do with your own journey. Your path is yours, uniquely designed, uniquely timed. And the moment you truly start focusing on yourself, everything begins to shift. You stop feeling pressure to impress. You stop chasing goals just because other people have them. You stop measuring your success by someone else's definition and begin crafting your own. But let's be honest, that shift takes discipline. It requires a deep, intentional effort to protect your energy, to stay rooted in your lane. It means reminding yourself again and again that just because someone else is winning doesn't mean you're losing. Life is not a race. There is no stopwatch for success. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be to become who you were meant to be. Picture this: runners in a race. The moment they start looking left or right to check on their competition, their form breaks. The momentum shifts. Their focus weakens. Why? Because they stopped running their race and started reacting to someone else's. And that's exactly what happens when you let comparison in. You slow down. You lose alignment with your purpose. You start making decisions based on trends instead of truth. on what others are doing instead of what you need to do. But when you keep your eyes forward and your energy focused, something powerful happens. You move with clarity. You stop letting distractions control your pace. You begin to trust that what's meant for you will never miss you, and it will come exactly when it's supposed to. Success isn't about being first. It's about being faithful. It's about being consistent. So today, make a decision. Decide to stop looking around and start looking within. Choose to measure yourself not against others, but against the person you were yesterday. Because at the end of the day, the only competition that truly matters is between you and your own potential. And if you can wake up each day and say, I've grown, I've improved, I'm becoming better, then you're already winning. Now that you're reclaiming your focus, let's talk about your energy, how to guard it, protect it, and make sure it's not being wasted on the wrong things. Now that you've chosen to stay in your lane and focus inward, the next crucial step is this. Protect your energy like your future depends on it, because it does. Far too many people waste their energy on things that don't serve them. They burn it on pointless arguments that lead nowhere. They try to prove themselves to people who don't even care. They hold on to grudges, pain, and relationships that should have been released long ago. But when you begin to grasp just how precious your energy truly is, everything changes. You stop handing out so freely. You stop reacting to every little thing that tries to pull you off course. You become intentional about who gets access to you, what deserves your attention, and what you allow to take root in your thoughts. Because not every comment needs a response. Not every situation needs your involvement. Not everything is worth your energy. Some of you are feeling drained. Not because you're grinding hard toward your goals, but because you're constantly being pulled in the wrong directions. You're exhausted not from purpose, but from distraction. You let small interruptions take priority over your real priorities. You let negativity creep into your mental space when it should have been left at the door. You engage in conversations that sap your spirit instead of build you up, and then wonder why you feel stuck like you're running in circles. The issue isn't your potential. It's not your capability. It's where your energy is going. You're pouring into everything except the things that actually matter. Here's a truth most people overlook. Not everyone deserves access to you. Just because someone demands your time doesn't mean you owe it to them. Just because someone questions your decisions doesn't mean you have to explain. You do not owe the world an explanation for the way you choose to grow, heal, or move forward. Some things are best handled in silence. Some battles aren't meant to be fought. Some people are simply detours in disguise, sent to distract you, test your patience, or derail your momentum. And if you're not careful, you'll spend more time managing them than investing in you. There's a big difference between being busy and being productive. A lot of people are always doing something, caught up in noise, drama, and endless distractions. They react to every problem, jump into every argument, respond to every message, and still feel like they're getting nowhere. Because they are. They mistake motion for progress. But true growth only comes when you learn how to protect your energy. You can't build your dream if all your strength is being drained by things that don't matter. So ask yourself, where is your energy going? And more importantly, is it building you or breaking you? Let's explore how to shift from just staying busy to building something that actually moves your life forward. Once you begin guarding your energy with intention, everything shifts. You no longer feel the need to chase distractions. You stop letting other people drag you into their chaos. You no longer waste time explaining yourself to those who were never truly listening in the first place. Instead, you start walking differently, more grounded, more focused, more intentional. You become selective about your space, about your time, about your peace. And more importantly, you begin making real, lasting progress. Of course, people will still talk. They'll always have something to say about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and whether or not they think you'll succeed. But here's the truth. Their opinions are not your reality. Their doubts don't decide your destiny. And the moment that truth sinks in, you're set free. You stop trying to win them over. You stop trying to prove your worth to people who never had the vision to see it. You stop leaking energy into things that don't pour anything back into you. Instead, you start investing that energy wisely back into your own growth, your own goals, your own peace. You spend your time on what truly matters, your healing, your discipline, your purpose. You don't react to every little trigger. You learn to respond only when it's meaningful. That shift, that discipline, becomes your superpower. And something powerful happens when you live this way. People start to notice. At first, they may not understand. They might wonder why you've gone quiet, why you no longer explain yourself, why you don't get pulled into drama the way you used to. But eventually, they'll see it. They'll see the glow that comes from peace. They'll see the transformation that comes from discipline. They'll see results that speak louder than any explanation ever could. So from this moment on, guard your energy like it's gold, because it is. Be mindful of where it goes. Be intentional with who gets access to it. Be disciplined in how you use it. Because when you protect your energy, you become unstoppable. You begin to step fully into who you were always meant to be. Now here's the next part of the journey. Protecting your energy is only one side of the coin. The other is staying consistent when the excitement fades. Discipline keeps you going long after the excitement fades. We just talked about how energy must be protected and focused, but energy alone isn't enough. Consistency is the bridge between goals and results. And here's the truth. The ones who truly succeed in life aren't the loudest. They're not the ones constantly announcing what they plan to do. They're the ones quietly showing up. They're the ones doing the work behind closed doors, without fanfare, without applause, without needing to be seen. They understand a powerful truth. Consistency is the real secret. Not grand gestures, not overnight wins, but small, steady, disciplined actions done over and over again. But here's where so many people get stuck. They want the reward without the sacrifice. They crave the results, but resist the routine. They love the idea of success, but not the daily discipline it demands. And when the results don't come fast enough, what happens? They make excuses. They blame the timing, their circumstances, other people, anything but their own inconsistency. But let's be honest, you don't get to skip the process. You don't get to sidestep the struggle and still expect to reach the top. You either stay consistent or stay stuck. There's no shortcut. How many times have you seen someone start something full of fire, only to quit 2 weeks later? How many times have you said you'd stick to something until life got busy, until stress crept in, until motivation disappeared? That's the difference between the dreamers and the doers. The ones who make it don't depend on feelings. They don't rely on being in the mood. They rely on habits. They rely on systems. They show up when it's hard, when it's boring, when no one is watching. Some of you right now are sitting on life-changing dreams, powerful visions that could rewrite your future, but you're waiting. Waiting for the perfect timing, waiting for the right energy, waiting for permission, for clarity, for signs. But deep down, you already know there is no perfect time. There's just now. There's just the choice to show up and begin. If you're not willing to be consistent in this moment, you'll never reach the future you keep imagining. So stop waiting. Stop announcing every plan before you've even started. Stop chasing validation before you've built anything. Now let's take it one step further, because staying consistent is about more than just discipline. It's about building identity. Discipline is how you begin, but silence is how you protect the process. As we saw in the last part, consistency is built through quiet dedication. But here's the catch. When you start talking too much about your plans, you give people room to plant seeds of doubt. You open yourself up to distractions, to unsolicited opinions, to voices that shift your focus from execution to explanation. But when you move in silence, when you stay fully locked in on your purpose. No one can interfere with your momentum. No opinions can derail you. No noise can shake you. Let me tell you something powerful. People will always notice the results before they ever notice the effort. They won't see the sleepless nights. They won't see the 5 a.m. alarms or the quiet sacrifices you make when no one's watching. They won't know the battles you've fought just to stay in the game. But one day, when your consistency starts bearing fruit, they'll see the success, and they'll think it happened overnight. But you'll know the truth. It was the work you did when it was hard. The days you wanted to quit but didn't. The quiet decisions to show up, especially when it felt like no one cared. That made all the difference. And that's why you must stay consistent. Even when it feels like no one is paying attention. Even when your effort goes unnoticed. Because the process always tests you before it rewards you. It will ask you, how bad do you really want it? It will push you through days that feel pointless. It will stretch your faith, your focus, your patience. But if you can remain consistent, especially during those moments, success becomes inevitable. So whatever you're building, whatever you're pursuing, stay locked in. Move in silence. Keep showing up even when the reward isn't visible yet. Because soon, your results will speak so loudly, you won't have to say a single word. Now here's the next challenge, the noise. The world is filled with it. Noise from critics, noise from distractions, noise from doubt, noise from meaningless conversations, and energy-draining voices. And if you don't learn how to shut it out, that noise will drown out the one voice that truly matters, your own. So what do you do when everything around you is trying to pull you in 100 different directions? You disconnect. You get quiet. You remove yourself from anything or anyone that slows your momentum. Because if you don't, you'll spend your life reacting instead of creating. You'll be listening instead of leading. You'll be following instead of building. And here's the truth. Not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Not everyone will cheer you on. Some will doubt you. Some will discourage you. Not because they know what's best, but because your growth threatens their comfort. When they see you break free from the limits they've accepted, it makes them uncomfortable. It confronts them with the reality of what they could be doing, but aren't. And that's where we're headed next. Because in the face of doubt and resistance, your true strength is about to be revealed. When you begin to rise, not everyone will rise with you, and some will try to pull you back down. In the last section, we saw how silence gives you power, and now we take that one step further. Your growth can make others uncomfortable. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your progress challenges the limits they've placed on themselves. Instead of rising higher, they'll try to bring you back down to their level, not out of malice, but out of fear. But hear this clearly, that is not your responsibility to manage. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your growth. You don't need permission to evolve, to pursue your purpose, or to step into the life you were created for. Some of you are carrying the weight of other people's opinions, expectations, and doubts, and it's slowing you down. You're hesitating, second-guessing, overthinking every move. Why? Because you're afraid of what others might say. But let's get honest for a moment. What they think doesn't matter. They're not the ones who will live with the results of your decisions. You are. They're not the ones who will have to lie awake at night, wondering, what if? You will. And if you spend your life trying to make everyone else comfortable, you'll never fully step into your calling. That's why you need to protect your vision. Move in silence. Let the noise die down while your purpose rises. Because here's what happens when you begin to elevate. Distractions multiply. The more you grow, the louder the opinions. The more you step into your power, the more others feel the need to weigh in. And if you're not careful, you'll start tweaking your direction just to fit into their mold, rather than staying aligned with your mission. But the ones who rise highest, the ones who walk in fullness, understand something most people never do. Silence is strength. Discipline is greater than applause. Focus is the real fuel behind success. These people don't need validation. They don't need approval. They just know, and they keep going even when no one else understands the vision. Some of you listening right now have dreams so big they scare you. And because they scare you, you go looking for someone, anyone, to reassure you. You crave confirmation. You want someone to say, you're doing the right thing. But let me ask you, what if that confirmation never comes? What if no one sees the vision but you? Will you shrink your dream just to make others feel comfortable? Will you slow down because no one else claps yet? You can't afford to wait. You can't afford to water down your vision just because the people around you can't see it yet. Belief begins with you. No one will take your vision seriously until you take it seriously. And the more you rely on external affirmation, the shakier your foundation becomes. That's why you must be intentional with what and who you listen to. If you constantly surround yourself with doubt, fear, negativity, and hesitation, you'll begin to absorb it. But if you guard your circle, choose discipline, choose focus, and choose that quiet, committed drive, then you'll move differently. You'll carry yourself with a calm confidence that speaks without needing to shout. Because at the end of the day, this life is yours. Your growth, your success, your peace. It all hinges on the choices you make. And one of the most powerful choices you can ever make is this. Shut out the noise. Let go of the need for approval. And move with purpose unapologetically. When you do, no one can stop you. Not doubt, not delay, not even failure. This journey you're on, it's not for everyone to understand. That's okay. They'll understand when they see the results. So keep going. Stay grounded. Be consistent. And let your work speak so loudly that you'll never have to explain yourself again. Wishing you strength, peace, and unstoppable growth. Stay focused. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Mindset Daily for more content that empowers your journey.